Hey guys, how's it going? Lee here. Now, the other day I went across an article about some stakeholders in ZIP and Afterpay backing up a new trading platform called Superhero, and there were so many articles dubbing it as Australia's Robinhood, except for the fact that, well, it's not exactly free. So in this video, I'm going to go over the new trading platform, go through it a little bit, show you some of the pros, the cons, the features within the platform if you're interested or have never heard about the Superhero trading platform to help you determine whether it's the right fit for you. Now, in the Australian share market space, it's not surprising that most Australians are actually using Commsec still. It's owned by Commonwealth Bank, who has the most amount of loans, the most amount of customers, basically Australia's biggest bank. And so to use a native platform to a banking system that you're already using, it just makes sense, right? And so that's why you have a lot of customers in Australia still using Commsec. Now, I'm not sure which platforms you guys are on, but I actually started with Commsec also because I bank with CBA also. But it's a pretty good platform. And if we're talking about the apps both on the mobile phone and the iPad over here, it's very, very good. Now, I've used a few other platforms where sometimes the iPhone app might look good or it might not even look good at all. But then when you download it for the iPad, there's no iPad equivalent. And so Commsec does a very good job at that, which is why I've really enjoyed using it. And I still do use it, even though I don't trade on the platform. Now, in terms of cost for Commsec, it's essentially free. There is no monthly subscription that you have to pay for or any fees associated with that. The brokerage is a lot higher, which we'll talk about later on. But it has a lot of cool features, and one of my favorite is the live pricing. So being able to get the price live, when I don't know if you know, I'm assuming you guys know, but when you look the prices up on Google, there's actually a 20-minute delay on the actual price. So yeah, that is a feature that a lot of other brokerages do charge for, but Commsec, it's free. But like I mentioned before, look, there's always a but. The price for trading with Commsec is anything but ideal. It starts at $10 for trades up to $1,000, of which a minimum of $500 must be met. Now, this is the price that you'll actually see on a lot of the ads that come out on, TV, social media. If you've been targeted by Commsec before, you'll see, start trading from $10. But in reality, when you think about just a normal trade, most people will probably do more than $1,000. Unless you're one of the new investors or traders and have used platforms like Spaceship, Acorns, all those micro investing platforms, then obviously you're used to just investing a couple dollars that adds up to a couple $100 over a couple months. And over $1,000 seems rather expensive, which in the scheme of things, it's really not. It's quite small. But yes, if we keep going up the ladder, it's $19.95 for trades up to $10,000. Up to $25,000 is going to cost you $29.95. And anything above that is 12 basis points, of which a minimum is $30 a trade. Now, when I look at this pricing structure, I think it is rather expensive in comparison to something like Self Wealth, who have a flat brokerage fee of $9.95, regardless of the amount of money you are investing or trading. But pricing is relative. Some of us might see this and go, it's not a big deal when you're investing tens and thousands of dollars. What's $30? What's $20 to you when you're investing such large amounts of money? And for the convenience of being able to move your money over from, your Commonwealth Bank over to Commsec, or just using an app that you're familiar with, it's really, it's neither here nor there. But one might pose the argument that just like interest rates, brokerage fees are probably one of the only things that you do have control of. Because the markets are crazy. Sometimes the stocks are going up, sometimes they're going down. Regardless of what they're doing, even if they're going sideways and just staying flat, you do have control of the brokerage fees or any other associated fees that you pay for your brokerage. And if you're a new investor, then obviously these fees can seem quite daunting when you're just starting out. If I just wanted to invest maybe $1,000 at a time, having to pay $10 every single time I make an investment might not be ideal. So this is where Superhero comes in. They're coming in with a flat fee of $5. That's right, $5. Now, with this kind of pricing, you can see that it's probably going to open the doors of investing to a totally new demographic. Those who were never into investing can hear about the $5 brokerage and get on board because the barrier to entry is so low. And just to add on to that, the minimum trading amount, instead of $500 like a lot of other brokerages have, is only $100. That's right. Brokerage fees at $5 and minimum trade at $100. So realistically, looking at these two numbers, you only really need $105 to start buying your first lots of shares and being an investor. That is very, very, very exciting for a lot of new investors or people who've never thought about investing because to make $105, I mean, that's like maybe half a day's worth of work or something like that. So it's not that far out of reach. And so anybody can really be an investor at this point, and that kind of illusion of having to have a lot of money to get it started, all that type of stuff really goes out the window, and you're going to get a flood of new people come in, just like Robinhood did over in the US. Speaking of which, if you're familiar with US-based apps such as Robinhood, all these platforms make their money on the back end by selling your orders on or through the interest that they get through their margin accounts, where they lend you money so then you can trade with money that you don't have. And so that poses the question, how does Superhero do the same? How do they keep their costs so low? So this is the question I had, and I had to do a little bit of digging online. And luckily the guys at Founder had already written an article about this, and people on OzBargain had already started posting their thoughts, comments, and so I really just followed that trail, and here's some of the things that I gathered. But basically, instead of everybody having their own HIN, like most Australian brokerages, which protects your ownership if the brokerage goes bankrupt, to reduce the fees, they have one special purpose HIN, which allows them to hold onto the shares on your behalf, and you are the beneficiary, which is very similar to having a nominee or a holding company hold on to your equities or securities. Now, to get a clearer picture, just in case, I misinterpreted or misunderstood here and there, I headed over to Investopedia to double check. You should always be double checking. I headed over to Investopedia just to make sure that my understanding of nominee is, well, as I understand it. And basically over in Investopedia, they highlight that a nominee is a person or company, which in this case is Superhero, which is entrusted with safekeeping of securities whilst you, the beneficiary, retains ownership of the shares, which in contrast to most brokerages who use the individual HINs, means that you have ownership of the shares regardless of what happens, assuming the ASX continues to operate in. Now, in the forums and comment sections, I saw that this was probably the most debated and fought over topic as to why a lot of people wouldn't go to Superhero, and I totally get it. But I will say that these nominees are common in brokerages that offer low brokerage fees because it's much cheaper to operate on than having a bunch of HINs. Instead, your securities or shares are being held by the Superhero nominee through a bare trust where you stand as the beneficiary, which to my understanding is how it's done in some brokerages in the United States. The other way they have saved costs is by completing settlements of trades at the end of the day to save costs. Now, however, with all of that being said, if there's one thing we Australians love, it's ownership. Whether it's your home, your shares, your car, anything else that you own and you're proud of, we love ownership. And the whole point of renting, leasing, borrowing, it has a negative connotation because, well, you don't actually own it and you're going to have to give it back to somebody else. And that's the Australian dream, right? To own your own home. Now, interestingly, whilst this was one of the hotter sticking points in this whole debate of whether we should move to Superhero or not move to Superhero, I honestly don't think for new investors, they really give a damn at all. If you've been used to Spaceship, Voyager, Acorns, or any other micro investing app, you really don't care at all whether you own it individually, because I'm pretty sure those apps don't use individual HINs also. Oh, and another feature that's in Superhero is Pay ID. Now, that helps you transfer money a lot quicker over to the accounts. Sometimes, depending on the brokerage I've used or the bank that I've been with at the time, it might take 2 days to get my money into the brokerage account. And, that's not ideal, obviously, if you're looking to make a trade on some news or something that's happened within that day. So this might help some people, but I also saw a lot of people not really give a damn at all. Now, with all of that being said, let's jump straight into the platform and see what exactly it's like. So the sign up process is rather quick and easy, and as you can see, you just got to put in some basic details like your driver's license, verify your phone number, your email, and you're good to go. Now, this is extremely quick just due to the fact that there are no individual HINs that have to be created. The process is all online and very simple, but this also means that at the moment you can't move your shares over to Superhero from any other account. There also isn't at the moment a mobile app for Superhero, but given that it's all online and it's all rather new and it's been backed up by ZIP and Afterpay, I can imagine that the one that they are developing at the moment is going to be packed with features, new looking, very modern, cool to interact with. I don't imagine them putting out a horrible one. And if they do, they're gonna be shooting themselves in the leg for this. So here we have the platform. It's pretty simple to use. You can have a look On the left-hand side, we see a dashboard which covers a bit of everything, like showing you your portfolio holdings, diversification, and it seems like you can check out some of the news and track your activities. What I will say is that this is actually a nice compact layout to be able to see all of this on one page without, well, no scrolling. Now going into the investing tabs, we can see that there's graphs of each of the shares that you've been watching. Here I just put down some of the big dogs, but you can also get suggestions to see what's been trending, which I also imagine is to encourage trading. But on the plus side, you get exposed to all types of different companies that you might have never heard of before in the ASX. Of course, nothing here is really new. It's very similar to what other brokerages already have, but they do have some themed ones like buy now, pay later, battery tech, global banks, all of which are basically ETFs that other companies like BetaShares have put together. Now, when I first saw these, I thought these were going to give you a bunch of suggestions of companies within these categories, but that's not the case at all. Still though, very simple layout to follow for somebody who's just getting started. You've obviously got your wallet part down here, but yeah, very simple layout. I can see it being translated over to a mobile app very, very easily. It's all blocky and kind of square, so it'll work very well. And if you're looking to buy, you can just click into the stock and make your purchase through there. So very simple indeed. Now, having outlined its features and costs, there are two accounts that you can go with. You can get the first one, which is essentially free, which only gives you a market order and comes with a 20-minute delay in pricing. Or if you pay the $9 a month, which I imagine is how they are recouping a lot of their costs that they're losing through the cheap brokerage fees, you get live pricing and some tax reporting benefits. That $9 also allows you to follow unlimited companies in your watch list, as opposed to the free one, which only allows you to follow 5. So overall, who is this for? I think it's more so for beginners. The individual HIN thing kind of bugs me a little bit, but honestly, I don't think it'll impact how you trade and invest, since you have other companies like IG and OpenTrader who also operate in the same manner and have $5 trades. However, they are not a flat fee of $5, and it goes up based on the amount of money that you actually trade. Now, if we have a look at the competition, Commsec is probably gold in terms of experience for me anyways. But their brokerage fee is like double the amount, right? It's rather expensive. And then you have Self-Wealth, who is a flat fee of $9.95, but the platform is kind of whack. Like, let's be honest, it's kind of whack. And then they give you this whole grading system. So it makes me feel like as though I'm being judged by like my parents or my teachers about how I'm investing and whatnot. And one day you could be an A+ because you've done really well, but your safety score will be like a D or something like that because you've gone all in on a couple stocks that you know quite well. So it's kind of weird. And the mobile app, let's be honest, kind of sucks. But I can see Superhero kicking off, depending on how they do their marketing and branding to all the new investors. It's going to be like kind of like your Robinhood and whatnot. And people who have been into acorns and been into the spaceship voyages, that's the demographic that I imagine that they're going to capture. And potentially some people might move over from, your Self-Wealth and your Commsec, NabTrade, all the other platforms. But yeah, that ownership thing is really hard to get by. I know a lot of people already use the IG Trader and OpenTrade and whatnot. So yeah, I guess different strokes for different folks. Honestly though, not for me. But yeah, go for it. Let me know what your experiences are. Have you heard of the platform or not? Let me know in the comments down below. Of course, guys, as always, have a great rest of the week. I'll catch you guys later. Cheers.